Smoke detector activated. Now, if you called 911 right now and got out of your house, then we would be on the way to your house. Remember, with the smoke detectors, make sure that you check the batteries, change the batteries every 6 months. We always like to say spring forward and fall back. Check your smoke detector batteries. So right now, what you see going on in there is the fire is starting to develop some heat in the upholstery and the furniture. The smoke is starting to get to the top of the compartment, and you'll see that it starts to exit the door, and it's starting to come out with a little bit of velocity behind it. And basically what's happening is the smoke is heating up, and the entire atmosphere inside is heating up. Right now, if you had your hand at the ceiling level of the house, you're probably talking about somewhere around 200, 250 degrees, but down low on the floor, it's less than 100 degrees, so it's a very survivable place. So if you were in a room that was on fire, that's what would be happening. So right now we're at 1 minute. 1 minute since we started this fire, and you already start to see that the smoke color is changing. It's changing from going to a blacker or darker, and it's getting pushed by some heat. You see it actually starting to swirl out the door a little bit, and it's starting to move a little bit faster amount of speed. And this smoke will travel throughout your house, and it's really, if you've heard before the public safety demonstrations, basically you only have a couple minutes to survive. So at 1 minute and 30 seconds, we already have fire that's beginning to roll out the front of this compartment. So basically, this would be what a similar room fire would be. And what's going to happen here is this fire is going to go to what we know as flashover very quickly. And flashover is when the entire compartment catches on fire at one time, which just happened. As you can see, the floor just caught on fire. So Lieutenant Morris is going to come in here with his engine crew that we have staged over here. And Lieutenant McClose, do we have time?
2 minutes and 15 seconds.
So 2 minutes and 15 seconds. We have, if this was a fire in the front of your house, this would be blowing out of the front of the house as we pull up. So Lieutenant Morris shows up, and one of the first things he does is he does what we call a 360-degree walk around. He wants to see where the fire is, see if there's any people hanging out of the windows, and we start stretching hose over to it. Believe it or not, to do everything that we need to do at a fire, we need about 25 firefighters on scene within the first 8 minutes to get everything done. A lot of times you see the firemen breaking windows, you see firefighters opening roofs, and we're trying to get those products of combustion out of get it out of the house so that we can make a more survivable atmosphere. We just hit 3 minutes. If anyone was in this room, they would have probably not made it out of it a long time ago. But you can see that the smoke now is actually on fire, and that's the gas is burning from the furniture, the couches, and the wood table we have on there. And it's actually gotten to the point where it's hot enough now that those gases have reached their ignition temperature. And what you're going to see now is the firefighters are getting ready to go in. And what we'll do is we'll take that hand line that's on the ground that can flow somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 gallons a minute. Does anybody have any idea how much their garden hose flows? 3 gallons a minute. So your garden hose, if you thought you might want to take that and try to go after that fire, it flows 3 gallons a minute, and this flows almost 200. We stay low, we crawl in to try to stay underneath the heat. 4 minutes time has elapsed since we started this fire. What we're going to do now, Lieutenant Morris is going to reach in there with his tool. He's looking around, he's probing around to see if he sees any victims, see if he can drag somebody out. And then basically, the nozzle firefighter will go inside, they'll start spraying the water all around the compartment and try to put the fire out. One of the big things we have is that you're talking about temperatures that were in that room 30 seconds ago that were approaching 1,200 degrees. Our gear actually cannot put up with that. So if we were in there with that fire, we would actually get burned too. So our gear holds up to an amazing amount of punishment, but it cannot survive direct live fire contact to our gear for more than a couple minutes. You see that now that they've gotten water on the fire, what's occurred is the smoke color has changed. It's gone to a white, lighter smoke, and what that is called steam conversion. Basically, we made a lot of steam out of all that water we put on there as we were suppressing the fire. And pretty much the fire's been knocked down. That's 5 minutes of time. And if this had been a real house fire in somebody's house, what would have been going on at all simultaneously would have been firefighters searching the house to make sure no one was in there, firefighters opening up walls and windows. Stratford was settled in the mid-1600s, and because of that, we have a lot of old construction. Most of the houses that were built all the way up into the mid-1950s have what we call balloon frame construction, which means that the walls behind all that plaster and sheetrock are all open from the attic all the way to the basement. So if we have a fire that starts in the basement, one of the first things we'll do is we'll actually send firefighters into the attic to make sure that there's a fire up there or in the basement. That's one way that fire spreads. Over there, bud. Another thing you see the firefighters doing is you see them ripping at the walls and trying to make sure that there's no hidden fire. All of the Stratford firefighters and all of our fire engines have a amount of water on them so that we can suppress fire right off the bat. We always look at the hydrants to make sure we have an uninterruptible source of water coming, but the minimum amount of water that we'll show up to at your house on our truck is 500 gallons. Some of our trucks carry 1,000 gallons. So one of the things to do is we try to get that fire knocked down and put out with the water that we bring with us right on the truck. But we always put hose in the street because we want to make sure that the fire is bigger than we thought, or if it got into places that we didn't think it got into, we have an uninterruptible source of water from the local hydrant system. Probably about 98% of the town of Stratford has got hydrants. There's a small part of town that does not, and when we have fires in that area, we have to get pretty creative on how we get water. Usually bring a lot more trucks. We'll actually even call other towns and tankers to help us put out fires in those neighborhoods because of the fact we don't have hydrants. Like I said before, that hose that they're holding on to goes about 200 gallons a minute. And you see basically they're just going through the process of final extinguishment now, cooling down the compartment. And if anyone wouldn't mind, give me a nice big round of applause for our Stratford firefighters. Just remember, we're here 365 days a year. We never go home. There's always firefighters in the firehouse to protect you. And it's an actual proven fact that to have a paid career fire department in your town costs less than 1 cup of coffee per day for every one of you standing here to keep us in these firehouses. And when you call 911, somebody's here to come answer your emergency.